Daniels, he's going to keep. He's going to walk into the end zone. Here comes one to the cup. Left-hand layup, good.
Kansas is the 2023 WNIT champions.
This is the Jayhawker Podcast, presented by the University of Kansas Health System.
Rock Chalk, another edition of the Jayhawker Podcast. I am Greg Gurley here with Wayne Simien. The Jayhawker Podcast brought to you by the University of Kansas Health System, along with the Downtown President Hotel. Two great sponsors of ours bring this footage to you every week, and Wayne and I are pumped. We're going to get it started right away with a guest near the top in interceptions in the country. 2 big picks in 2 games. Your Jayhawks are 2-0 with a big win against a upper-tier Power 5 conference team, Illinois, out of the mighty Big Ten. Final score was closer than we had hoped, but it was a dominant first half and one of the slowest second halves, and we can talk all about that, about why it was so slow, just because of reviews and all that. But we are joined from a third generation, or I guess second generation, but kind of the third Lassiter to play football at the University of Kansas. He follows his father, who I knew very well, Kwamie Lassiter, from 1991 to 95, and then his brother, and now Kwinton. Kwinton, thanks for joining us.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
You know how big of a deal your dad, I mean, how much of an impact he had at the University of Kansas, one of the all-time great guys ever, my era type, right when Kansas football was going through a similar rebirth like you guys are going through now. It's pretty cool that you and your brother are part of the rebirth, just like your dad was in the early 90s.
Right, yeah, very cool.
But, growing up in the Phoenix area, Kwinton came to Lawrence, Free State High School, then on to Butler County, and now playing for the Jayhawks at David Booth Memorial Stadium. Talk about your path. Talk about what Kansas football means to you and your family. Your mom is always around, and it's so good to have you. Welcome to the Jayhawker Podcast.
All right. Yeah, my mom makes it to as much games as possible, but she's going around to each one of our games. Kwamie, he's up at the Bengals right now, and then I have another brother who's up at BYU. So she's definitely traveling around, but my journey here was nothing easy, but it was worth it. And like you said, I went to Butler Community College, which is about 2.5 hours up the road from here, but originally, I never saw myself going JUCO, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. I met lifelong friends there, great coaches, and then, my brother was also here, so he was right up the street, and I found myself coming here and loved it ever since. KU's just a special place, one for my family, but two, just the atmosphere around here. So I knew this where I wanted to be.
Well, I'm glad that you mentioned that your journey wasn't easy, because that has so much shaped your grit and determination, even as a defender. But even though the journey wasn't easy, in your heart, did you always want to be a Jayhawk? Obviously, knowing your dad's phenomenal legacy, obviously watching Kwamie II, his career here. Were you just determined in your mind it's Jayhawk or bust?
It's funny. Once I felt like that out of high school, but then once I went JUCO, I was kind of like, I'm open to any opportunity. And I was actually looking at Texas Tech, the Red Raiders, and then it was between them and KU, and I just knew KU was gonna be the one. So I wouldn't say it was Jayhawker buzz, but I'm glad it worked out how it did.
Did you feel somewhat bullied by your mom to say, "Hey, you're going to KU"?
Nah, not at all. My mom would just be happy wherever we are.
Well, we're very, very happy that you made this decision to come to Lawrence, Kansas in the booth. And man, have you been good in your first couple games. And talk about how cool it was to get a pick, run to the sideline, and hand the ball to who?
My brother. Yeah. I talked about it a couple times, but before the game, my mom came in earlier that night, I think Thursday night, and then that Friday, my brother came into the airport, so they went to pick him up. They stopped by the hotel before the game, and he was like, "Hey, get a pick and bring me the ball." So it was kind of funny because it worked out. I got the pick right on the sideline where him and my twin brother was standing. So it was it was well worth it, you know what I'm saying? And it meant everything.
Man, so we're gonna need to have Kwamie maybe give you a call before every game to give him a menu order of what he wants to see happen, so you can go out and make that happen. And then, of course, we know what took place last Friday when, Greg alluded to it earlier. We got off to that fast start, felt like we kind of stalled out a little bit in the second half. Illinois had a couple of unanswered scores, and then the game-sealing play happened by a second interception from you. So give us a little feel of what that was like as you feel the momentum shift in the game. They're barreling back. They're within striking distance, and then your moment is right there ahead of you.
Right. Like you said, momentum shift, and it was tough, but we knew the type of defense we were and or what we are. But I think it was fourth and long, and they converted that first down, and it was kind of like, man, like we got to get something going. And we felt like we were the better team that night, just based off of like you said, how we started off. The flags kind of kept the game going slow, as you also mentioned, but that play it was everything. Great cornerback Kobe Bryant, he got put out the game due to a targeting call. So I knew that it was my moment, and once I got in, he even came up to me saying like, "Hey, I already feel it. Like, you about to get a pick." And it was good coverage called by Coach Borland, and I just pushed off the post and went to the corner and seen the ball. Kalen Gervin had a good PBU on that play as well. He went up for the ball, sunk under that receiver, and then I was just there to make the play.
Do we have a one of those turnover things? Do we have any kind of thing, that a crown or a gold chain?
We actually don't, and I was thinking about that. I was like, we need I know what you mean, like a turnover chain or something. Yeah.
All right, everybody, the Jayhawker Podcast viewing, let's send in some ideas,
some suggestions.
Suggestions. Maybe Wayne and I'll put our heads together. We got to come up with something, right? Coach Leipold would be fine with it, wouldn't
he? Right.
Hey, and if we do, we'll make sure that it's retrofitted just for you. You'll get to wear it around campus for like 2 days, just because it came on a little bit late.
A little late, okay.
Hey, how about, you talked about growing up in the Phoenix area and then coming to school here, but there's been a resurgence. Well, maybe it's not a resurgence. Maybe it's been good all along, but Kansas has really dove into the Phoenix, Scottsdale desert area. Jordan Peterson is down there all the time and has been able to pull some other Arizonans to play at the University of Kansas. Talk about how competitive it is down in the desert.
Yeah, Arizona was one of those states that was real slept on, so it's kind of cool seeing coaches finally go out there and pick players up, kind of like you mentioned, the 3 Desert Edge kids that are committed here. So it's real cool because it's a lot of talent down there, and it's finally being shown, I would say. So I mean, there's always been talent there. It's just finally, great coach like Jordan Peterson is around to go get those players.
I love how earlier when you were describing that second interception that you had against Illinois, you shared some pretty intricate details in terms of breaking out of routes and reading coverage, and getting a pick is so much more than just being at the right place at the right time when the ball is maybe mistargeted. And so talk to us a little bit about some more of those details, how well of a talent development Coach Peterson is, Coach Borland, and some of his scheme covers. Give us some more insight to what it's like to be in that position.
Yeah, well, first off, Coach Borland and Coach Peterson are great coaches, and they explain the game real well. And now, as a cornerback, I work more with Peterson, like just based on our cornerback room. But Coach Peterson, he breaks down the game real easy and makes it easier for us to be able to make plays like that. So, like, for example, our first game versus Missouri State, I knew it was a nub tight end. I felt like I knew they were either going to come out, they were either going to block or they would come out to a hitch or out route. So he plays just things like that. Like, he set me up for that pick, and I just had to go out and execute it. So yeah, hats off to Coach Borland and Coach Peterson.
Hey, how about the student section on Friday night? How cool was that? We talked so much about the blackout with the uniforms, and it was so cool to see. I've been around a long time, so has Wayne, and we've seen great support at Memorial Stadium, and that was the best student support I've seen. Well, how cool is that when you guys run out of that tunnel to see that with your peers?
Right. I was just talking about this the other day. Like, we go after we do our warm-up, we go into the locker room and we're like, okay, it's kind of packed. But then when we come out and we see that, it was amazing. And that's just all credit to the fans, being able to black out the booth, not only black out the booth, but just be there. And I think they took up probably 3 sections, and I don't think I've ever seen that here. So.
And you've been around from your Free State days to your Butler days with your brother playing there, and you've been through some bad times as a fan, watching your brother and obviously watching tape of your dad. But again, how cool is it to be? How much of your decision was I want to be a part of the solution?
Right. Yeah, like that's also what I was gonna say too. Like, just coming to a couple of my brother's games, just being right up the road. I remember vividly they was playing, I think, TCU here, and it was a cold game and the stands were empty. And it's like, it's hard to bring your own juice during environments like that. So to see the fans be able to come out and pack the booth every week is amazing.
And let that be a lesson to everybody watching this.
Right.
When we come back, we're going to go to Nevada this weekend and get a win, be 3-0, and come back to play BYU, which we know they always travel well, but we've said it twice, pack the booth, and we haven't quite got there. But it's Parents' Weekend, everyone's around. Saturday game,
afternoon.
Right.
We gotta be there. 2:30 a week from Saturday, BYU comes to town.
So you mentioned your conversations with Kwamie about playing the position and getting him a pick. Did he call you after the game to tell you how fresh y'all looked in those black uniforms? And Greg and I kind of gave a little bit of commentary last week on what we thought and how excited we were. What was the feel like in the locker room when you guys got strapped up in the new uniforms and the big reveal?
In the locker room, it was all excitement, just when you walk in after the Hawk walk and you see your jersey set up on your lockers, it's all excitement. And, the blackout hasn't been done here at Kansas. So for that to happen and for us to be able to wear it, it's a blessing. It means everything. And then on to my brother, he was happy for us too. And he kept texting, he's like, I need to get me one of those jerseys. It's like, I don't know how, but I need one. And he went and texted all his friends and let them know, all his teammates who used to play here. Like, he's like, man, they look clean in these black jerseys. So, it's exciting for not only just us, but alumni as well.
We're early on in the week here. You got a road trip coming up to Nevada. Talk a little bit about that game, the preparation, and kind of how nice is it to get a couple wins on a Friday, kind of giving you that extra day, and then comment on the fact that it's going to be essentially a 9:30 kick for us Central folks, and you going to Nevada, and that game kicks at 7:30 out there. But talk about the preparation for Nevada and really the preparation to play that late in the day. How will you occupy your time on Saturday?
Well, yeah, first off, playing that late it's kind of anxious. You're sitting in the hotel waiting, but Coach does a good job spreading out our days, having certain meetings and lunch and whatever the case may be, but he does a good job setting it up so we're not just sitting there waiting and we're actually active, moving around. And then the preparation is just, Nevada's a great team and their record may not show it or the score, but they played great games and they just came out on the short end, but we just prepare like every other week, go be physical, watch the film, be pros, and yeah.
Yeah, it was so important, you guys, after coming off 2 big wins to start the season, to not overlook an 0-2 Nevada team and having an embarrassing loss against Idaho at home last week. I'm sure that they're raring and ready to get a W in that win column. But I'd be remiss not to ask you about the matchup that's going to happen at BYU and a familiar face on the opposite team and on the opposite side of the ball. Why don't you give our listeners a little bit of a glimpse into who that is and what that might be like in your household?
Right. Well, first off, it's bragging rights after the clock hit 0 after fourth quarter, but I'll be playing my brother Darius Lassiter. He a receiver there up at BYU. He transferred there from Eastern Michigan, but yeah, he loves it up there, and it'll be a great game. We've been talking about it ever since the schedules came out. My mom already bought shirts, so
Is she going to split them like
the
the Kelsey brothers? You remember when the Kelsey brothers' mom had the half and half Chief, half Eagles? Is your mom working on that with the sewing machine?
She got a little. She don't have the jerseys, but she has a little half with our names on it, and it says "Battle of the Bros." So it'll be an exciting one.
Well, Quinn, we appreciate your time. This is awesome. I really enjoyed getting to know you again, knowing your dad the way I did, and what a great guy, great father, and just a great Jayhawk. And now you, as a second generation, the third Lassiter to play at Kansas, it's
Right.
so fun to talk to you and get to know you and watch you have so much success. Your mom's just such a great lady. Every time, I mean, you know, obviously know your mom. She's just extroverted and hugging everybody, and she's wherever you go and your mom's there, she's hugging and kissing everybody, and she's just life of the party. She's never met a stranger.
Right, that's true. Everybody love my mom, and waiting for her next post. You know, all my teammates watch all her posts to try to find videos or funny videos of me or whatever the case may be. But yeah, I appreciate you also saying great stuff about my dad. That means the world to me, and I appreciate you guys having me on here.
Way to represent your family name and legacy very, very well. Don't stop at 2 picks. We got a lot of season left.
One a game.
Keep that no-fly zone coming. Keep that communication with Kwamie going, them expectations, and, of course, enjoy that special game against your brother during BYU.
Yeah, Quentin, appreciate you. Good luck this weekend, and Rock Chalk.
Of course, Rock Chalk. I appreciate you guys.
Very cool. Kwinton Lassiter, second generation, third Lassiter to play at the University of Kansas, part of this second rebirth. I was there for the first one when it was really tough sledding in the late 80s, and then when Glenn Mason got to town and got us to a couple bowl games, it had a lull after that, but man, the Mark Mangino brought it back, and here we are again. And we got to pack the booth, we got to support, the students. I can't say enough. You and I were down on the field. We're like, will you look at that from row 1 all the way up to 60?
To the top, yeah.
Like usually you see it for about 15, 20 rows, but man, that was impressive, and the students deserve a ton of credit. Our fan base deserves a ton of credit, but let's also say there were some empties. And and it's a Friday night, I get it. No excuses. Third show in a row I've said no excuses, but 2 weeks from now, Parents Weekend, BYU, we're no longer playing those 11 a.m. games that we hated so much. 2:30, this is prime time. We're there. BYU, big name. They'll travel, and we got to show up. Not going to be the black uniforms, so wear your red and blue, come ready to go. Let's have fun tailgating. It's going to be great weather, but we got to pack the booth come next Saturday. First things first, late kick against Nevada on Saturday. Take a nap, do whatever you got to do on Saturday. Understand that here in Kansas City in the central region, it's going to kick at 9:30. And so I know you're kind of a go to bed. Will you stay up? Well,
Oh yeah, no doubt.
We got fantasy camp.
Yeah,
we're going to
be a lot of football to watch.
We're going to watch some bad basketball be played at Allen Fieldhouse with our fantasy campers. We're going to go have a party, get out some awards, and at 9:30 we're going to have that big screen on and watch Kansas go to 3-0 and get back to town ready for BYU.
Yeah, it's interesting. One of the things that I'm thinking about with Nevada in that game and a component and ingredient that's going to affect a lot of these new schools coming back in is the altitude.
Yeah.
And you and I were talking back and forth about that a little bit, and it can't go unmentioned because it is a key factor. And I didn't know this, that Nevada actually is at a higher elevation than Colorado, which is kind of where you and I, our exposure to altitude happened when we're playing Boulder, when the Nuggets, and you were talking to CB about that. And, dude, I got a funny story. So my freshman year, we played Colorado on a big Monday, All right, it's Coach Roy Williams is the coach at the time. The Chiefs are playing the Broncos on Sunday night, and so Boulder and Denver are pretty far away, so there's no way we could get to both. I don't think Coach would have been really into that anyways.
Right.
But I do remember watching the game in the hotel for our little local Chiefs fan guys. And one distinctive thing that I remember about that game is that all the Chiefs players had the what? The little oxygen mask, right? So I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. I'm a freshman high school kid, never been to Denver, hardly been out of the state of Kansas. And so then we go into CU, and of course, what do? They make a big deal about the altitude. They got signs. It's on the floor. Signs outside the locker room when they're announcing it. All they're talking about is a mental deal. But I still had really no understanding what that was. And you remember Coach Roy Williams' style of play. We were trying to score 96 points a game.
Right.
We were trying to score the ball in like 6 seconds. We practiced taking the ball out of the net and how fast you could outlet it to Jeff Boschee, to kick it to Kurt Heinrich, to kick it to Nick Collison to score. Right. So we were fast. I remember about the second TV timeout because I was coming off the bench at the time. And I remember that my nose and my throat were on fire.
Yeah.
I mean, fire. So
like you're a lifetime smoker.
Oh, dude.
Just like your chest.
Oh, it was on
Awful.
fire. So I'm kind of wilty in the huddle, and Coach Williams kind of looks over at me like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, Coach, I'm dying out here.
It's a sign of weakness, Wayne.
Where are the oxygen masks? The Chiefs had we don't have the oxygen thingies? I'm looking around, and Coach's like, they made it up. It's not real. The altitude's not real. It's in your head. I'm like, Coach, but the Chiefs last night, they had the oxygen mask. And, of course, that conversation was pretty short-lived because his next statement after that was, get him out. Right. Get him out.
Right.
So, bloop, got out.
He didn't believe.
He gave me the rest of the half and all of halftime to get my oxygen levels back up before he put me back in the game. And
I wasn't there, but I completely believe you because he wasn't a big water guy. He wasn't definitely not an oxygen guy. It was all mental. Be tougher. Altitude's not real. But to your point, it's real. I'm a 51-year-old fat guy now. I'm out in Breckenridge. Amy and I are out there visiting some friends. Our bedroom was on the lower floor, and just walking up to the upper floor, 12 steps. I
sub.
The people
Sub.
in Breckenridge. I asked my friend, I was like, man, I felt like I had a knot in my chest. He's like, yeah, just those 20 feet or whatever it is, and it's real. I texted CB when I was out there. I was like, man, now granted, he's a 22-year-old, guy that's in perfect shape, and I'm not. But he goes, it took some getting used to. There's no question about it. It's real.
Yeah.
But not to Roy Williams.
Sure. But we got a couple teams coming back. 3 teams: Utah, BYU, and Colorado, all coming back with those that altitude consideration. And I do know some Olympic sport coaches in our fold that aren't very happy because I didn't know that the tennis ball flies different, a volleyball flies different, golf ball flies different, and so these are
speaking of golf. How about this?
And another one.
Another one,
and
DJ
another
Khaled.
one.
Yes.
Let's go. Will King.
Will King gets an individual title up in Minnesota just yesterday, right? He wins a tournament. So, I tried to stress it last week with Jamie Bermel, and he obviously gets it. Winning a collegiate golf tournament is really, really difficult. Back-to-back tournaments, we've had the individual champ. Cecil 2 weeks ago, now Will King. So now, if we can get the rest of the guys on the team side of it to play a little better, obviously Jamie Bermel's, he's going to be happy but never satisfied. And yes, it's cool to have an individual, but it's a team game. I know it doesn't seem like a team game, but golf at the University of Kansas and every other university is a team game. It's great to have the individual accolades, and all props to Cecil and Will, but a very, very difficult thing to do. Back-to-back weeks, Cecil and Will King.
Back-to-back tournament championships haven't happened since Gary Woodland.
And who was the other one?
Oh, he won both of them.
It wasn't Kevin Ward?
I don't know. I thought Gary won both of them.
I don't know. We might have to do a little research on that.
Okay, either way, both of them were studs. And
get
well soon, Gary, man. We're thinking about you.
Gary's going through some stuff, but he's near and dear to our hearts. What else has been going on, brother? We got volleyball.
We got to think about, we got a little highlight during the KU-Illinois football game. Illinois and our Kansas Jayhawk basketball team are going to put on that game.
Exhibition game in Champaign, October 29th. Brad Underwood came to Lawrence this past weekend, and Bill and Brad were guests on Brian Haney and David Lawrence's broadcast of the football game, talking about that game and how it's going to be a fundraiser for the people of Maui that have just gone through such a difficult time, and it ain't getting better anytime fast. It's a slow, drawn-out deal, and we feel for the people of Maui. I've been there 5 times and absolutely love that area, Lahaina and Kaanapali. How could you not? And the devastation is unreal, and what they're doing. And I believe I think Tennessee and Michigan State announced that they're doing something as well. Tennessee will be in the Maui Classic, and I believe Tennessee and Michigan State are having an exhibition game.
Of course, after we announced ours, we were the first one. Just
but
remember that, people.
To their defense, Bill did say, he goes, hopefully other schools are able to get with the NCAA and get the waiver to do it, because it is kind of a spur-of-the-moment deal to have this. I mean, we've never had a road game as an exhibition game. That's always where you had, Emporia State, Pitt State, Fort Hays State, or who am I forgetting? Washburn,
yeah.
Brett Ballard. So
how about Coach Self putting himself out? It's probably the first time he's been back to Champaign
since
he left, exposing himself, maybe some bullets or some booze.
Well, he said that he wants to walk out with Hunter, because Hunter isn't very well liked in the Big Ten. I know that comes as a big surprise to you. But he's going to walk out and say, man, these fans really hate you. And blame
and I said bullets earlier. I meant criticism. That was
correct.
Yes, not literal bullets. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, but it's going to be verbal. There's going to be a lot of it, and I was able to host some Illinois people, their athletic director, and some of their big donors, and toured them around, and we were talking about that. And they were, it's funny to talk to Illinois people about how angry they are at Bill Self. And when I say angry, they're angry in a very nice way, in a very flattering way, because they're angry because they know how good he was for those 3 seasons that he was there, and they look at what he's done at Kansas and say, why couldn't that be us?
Well, let's be real. Somebody was going to get him. Like, think about the blue blood turnover that took place between.
You say that Illinois, great program, great support, huge school. He could still be there.
I'm not quite there yet, because you think, UCLA turned over, Kentucky turned over twice. There were some other.
I've asked Bill that question. Like, okay, you don't come to Kansas. In the last 15 years, what job would have intrigued you? And we went through a bunch of them, and it was hard to. Now, it's hindsight, I get it.
Yeah. Hindsight, and no paper on the table with terms and agreements, and that could change things as well.
There's money everywhere.
Yeah.
It's not, it is what it is. So I don't know. We're gonna have Bill as a guest at some point, so that might be a nice question for him.
Maybe
but
so.
A lot going on as always.
Calling all Jayhawks though to that, I know it's a pretty lengthy drive from the Kansas City area
6.5 hours is all
to Champaign, but we have an immense amount of Jayhawks in the Chicago area.
Yep.
Naperville area, right there in Illinois, which is maybe a 2-hour drive.
Yeah, it's like 2.5 hours.
That'd be a great time.
And it's a Sunday at 5:00, so you can come to the Kansas-Oklahoma game, whatever time that is on Saturday. Enjoy homecoming, do all that stuff.
Yeah.
Wake up on Sunday and make the trek to Champaign, and it's unique. This isn't going to happen again. At least,
it's a real basketball game.
It's a real game.
I got a chance to slide over to St. Louis and watch some scrimmage. Had a little private scrimmage last year.
Right.
And I tell you what, each of the segments that they played came down to 2 or 3 possessions, which those type of coaches love, because in an exhibition game like that or a scrimmage, you want to be able to practice late game situations against real opponents, which is why there's just as much value in an exhibition game like that, whether it's something that's private or something that's a fundraiser, as opposed to maybe playing another exhibition game against a Division II. It's great to have those resources stay in the state. It's great to highlight our great Division II, MIAA, Kansas programs, but for the usefulness and the utility for getting our guys ready, you want to get better.
And you know it better than anybody. You practice against each other for so many months, and it's just banging on bodies with each other forever. And you're like, you want someone else. I want our plays to work. Let's go play Illinois. Let's go play whoever. And some of this stuff will start to work because the red team knows exactly what's happening, and so it's good to have a little success. But it's fun to be a fly on the wall. I was in the car with Bill a couple of weeks ago when Brad Underwood called him and talked about coming, and listen to those two go back and forth. They're pretty similar. They're pretty similar guys. They're good trash talkers about their golf game, about just how they operate. And then this past weekend, Brad came over to Bill's suite, and just watching those two act like they're good football coaches as well. Of course, why didn't they run a screen? The one who's the best or the worst is Norm Roberts. Norm Roberts.
Herm Edwards, you mean?
Herm Edwards, yeah. Herm thinks he's the greatest. He's really loud.
It's because he looks like and sounds like Herm Edwards. For those of you who aren't familiar with
he had
Norm
a great
Roberts.
story. They were on a recruiting trip. I think they were in Vegas, and this guy comes up to Norm and it's just like, "Oh, Coach, I love you, and I want to blah, blah, blah. Can I get my picture with you?" So he goes with him, and as they're about to take a picture, the guy says, "I just didn't think you got a real fair shot down there at Arizona State," and he thought he was Herm Edwards.
You play to win the game.
You
play to win the game.
Oh, so they got the right amount of gray, and it's perfect. He does not like it when I call him, and Pascal doesn't like it either. But I don't know. Have you noticed? Wayne and I like to, when we find a bit of a wound or a weakness, we try to exploit it.
That's just the regular locker room environment that we love so much and that shaped us so much, and it's still alive and well today.
So another edition of the Jayhawker Podcast brought to you by the University of Kansas Health System. We talked golf, talked a little volleyball. Everything's going on around the facilities. You and I talked about it last week. As you drive down around the football stadium, they cleared out a parking lot. There's a bunch of pipes and stuff. And did you see those trailers there? There's 4 huge trailers.
Progress is on the way.
Progress is on the way. November, whatever it is, right before Thanksgiving is our last home game. And probably right around Thanksgiving, they're going to start knocking walls down. So it's real. It's coming. So enjoy Memorial Stadium as it is. Understand that it's going to be messy for about 18, 20 months. But, man, is it going to be good in a couple years. So excited. Got to keep the momentum, keep the pace, go to 3-0 in Reno, take down Nevada.
I like that. I like what you did there.
And then come back. And let's give a rude, mad, aggressive welcome to BYU.
Big Boy Conference.
Big Boy Conference. Welcome to the Big 12 moment. We all had welcome to Kansas moments. We had welcome. You had a welcome to the NBA moment, I'm sure. We want to welcome BYU, shake their hand, say, "Hey, great to have you here," and then just step on them, right? And go to 4-0, and then see where we go from there. How about that?
I know where we go. We head down to Austin. For the horns. Let's
get
them.
Let's
take it.
Hey.
That's right. We're going to run it back.
What happened last time we were in Austin?
There was no uncertainty in my voice when I just said that. So don't be trying to project.
You kind of cocked your head.
I did. But there was no inflection in my voice where there was any fear or uncertainty about what we're going to do in Austin.
Wow. Hey, defend it. I get it.
Okay.
I saw your body language, and I wanted to attack you while the cameras were on. But another edition of the Jayhawker Podcast brought to you by the University of Kansas Health System and the Hilton President Hotel. Get down and see Wayne and I's guy, Philip Stranad, Wichita State on December 30th, Big 12 tournament mid-March, concerts, anything going on at the T-Mobile Center, or if you just need a place to lay your head and you're going to go out and party at the Power and Light, go to the Bristol, do whatever. Call my man, Philip Stranad. We will be back next week, 3-0, ready to talk more Kansas athletics. Jayhawker Podcast. I am Greg Gurley. That is Wayne Simien, Rock Chalk.